Hey there, thanks for clicking. My name is Joe Fritz, and I'm here to draw monsters and chew bubblegum, and I'm all out of bubblegum. Okay, so, yeah, this is just the third in my series of giant monster drawings, because I'm on a big giant monster kick, what with Godzilla coming out in May, and, oh man, we just had Pacific Rim, and, Rampage this year, and I'm just on a big giant monster kick. I've been reading that Nemesis novel, which has been around for a while, but I'm just now getting around to reading it. I'll talk about it a little bit later. But today's giant monster trope that I'm gonna kind of put my stamp on is the alien. Um, there's been a lot of really cool aliens in kaiju fiction. Of course, Ultraman is full of them. They've got the Baltans. Obviously, most of the stuff in Power Rangers could be described as an alien. Um, and then, of course, in Godzilla, there's like Monster X. Of course, King Ghidorah is kind of an alien, depending on which version of King Ghidorah we're talking about. Gigan is an alien. But for mine, I decided to kind of go more for the Ultraman, Power Rangers, Tokusatsu style character, style villain. So he's very very human shaped. He's got those goofy elf style feet that Baltans have that I love. So of course I added them to my made up character. Obviously, there's a lot going on here. He's very much inspired by The Thing and Cthulhu, and then obviously the obvious ones are, Power Rangers style monsters. One of my favorite tropes in Power Rangers style monsters is that the idea that one of their arms is a tail that they can use as a whip, and then the other arm is like a snake or whatever, and maybe it breathes fire. So I kind of did my own take on that, where one arm is just a long ass tentacle, and the other arm is like the upper jaw of a mouth that kind of goes down its body, almost completely down its leg there. I'll just figure maybe it's got a tongue in there or something. It's one of its secret powers that it just kind of springs on you. And then of course, since it's an alien, the sort of object I decided to show scale was a flying saucer, and it's just a generic flying saucer like you see in books you check out from the library when you're way interested in paranormal things, and you look at black and white photos of what's clearly a pie tin, but when you're a kid you're thinking, oh man, UFOs are so real. But yeah, the other thing I drew inspiration from was Julia from Drawfee, Morning Drawfee. They're a great YouTube channel. I love watching their stuff. Julia's drawings are almost always just something like this, which is just like completely terrifying, and filled with eyes. And then she does the series called Fear of Painting, where it's a send up of kind of a Bob Ross style painting show where she invites people over and they inevitably end up being dragged down to hell by her master. It's just a crazy program on YouTube, and I think it deserves a little bit more attention than it probably gets. But I'm stealing a little bit from her style. Obviously, the shapes of the eyes, she always does eyes like that, and it's almost always terrifying. So I decided to kind of borrow from that. Yeah, and once you start getting in and doing details, man, this thing just comes alive. It's really cool how that happens in a drawing once you really start adding details. So anyways, yeah, I've been reading Nemesis, which is a novel about a giant monster that has been around for a while. I think it was on Kickstarter or something. I'm not much of a Kickstarter person. I don't donate to Kickstarters or Patreons or anything like that. But yeah, I think it's cool that those types of things exist, so that people who have the drive and ambition, but are not necessarily in a financial situation to make something happen. Because definitely there is an audience for a series of novels about giant monsters, clearly. Yeah, so in this novel, it's kind of it's kind of just a generic giant monster story, with kind of a twist. It's sort of like Species or something, where they're like combining DNA with human DNA and they're turning into these giant monsters or something. I haven't finished it yet, but I'm really enjoying what I've read so far. There is like a little bit of weird gender politics in it, which I don't even know if I should bring up, but I'm going to anyways. It's just kind of a weird thing he does where it's clear the author wants to have badass women in it, which is cool. Great. Yeah. But it just feels like he stops the plot dead in its tracks to just let you know, like, no, trust me, dude, this chick is so hot. And then it's just always like some guy is like, oh, she is so hot. She's my kind of woman. It's just like, guys, you're about to get killed by a giant monster. Maybe you could get a little less thirsty and focus on the task at hand. But it's a giant monster. It's a book about a giant monster. So I mean, it could be a little bit B-movie-ish, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. So I'm not holding that against it. Some people might, though, but me personally, I get it. It's a B movie. It's basically like an episode of X-Files if an episode of X-Files had a really good budget and could afford to make some giant monster makeup or CGI or something. There's also a really terrifying scene where a character actually gets eaten by the monster, and oh man, it's like Stephen King. Just the existential kind of dread when they realize what's happened to them, and like it reminds me of some stuff that's like in a Stephen King novel, just like finding out like how somebody died like slowly, but he just kind of glosses over it so that all you can do is really think about what it would be like to die that way. So hopefully that wasn't too spoilery. The book itself it's pretty good. I mean, as far as those kinds of novels go. Yeah, I mean, as far as for a novel about a giant monster attack, it's one of the best. So there you go. There's not too many of them. So, and it's a whole series. It's the Nemesis series, and it's apparently doing pretty good for the guy. So I'm happy for him. I hope he keeps making them. I'll keep reading them. All right. So here we are getting into the colors. I wanted to do just bright colors. I wanted this thing to look like an action figure. I've said it before and I'll say it again. My aesthetic is Ninja Turtles, pretty much. That's where I get my aesthetic. Just 80s and 90s action figures. It's just kind of my aesthetic. That's what I learned to draw. Like when I was learning to draw as a child, I was drawing Ninja Turtles. So it's definitely something that has stuck with me, and it's definitely something that I really appreciate. So when I do draw, I'm always looking for a way to add some accessories or add some crazy details in there that maybe aren't practical but are fun to look at. Just like a Ninja Turtles toy. Like when they would be in disguises, and Raphael would be in a astronaut costume, and for no reason there'd just be like a weird alien clinging to the back of his spacesuit. It's like, why is that there? It doesn't matter. It's cool. So, obviously the creepy eyes are yellow. I figure he probably can fire like a laser out of every single one of those eyes, but I was kind of in a hurry when I was drawing this, so I didn't really do any crazy effects like I did on Byrantis up in the corner there. But, yeah. Like I said, I just wanted some crazy colors. So we're doing, you know, purples and browns, or it's like an orange, basically. Of course, I'm still using that technique I picked up from Arcane Forge. Basically work out all the tones and grays, and then color over the top of it. I'm not sure how I feel about the colors I chose for this flying saucer, but it's okay. I'm just out here having fun. And once I started adding green, this thing really picked up. It really looked like something. I would love to just have a vinyl figure of this thing just sitting on my shelf, looking exactly like this. So yeah, got a lot of interesting stuff coming up. I'm doing a guitar for a friend of mine that hopefully will be ready by next week. Hopefully I'll have a video of it next week. It's turning out really good. He really seems to like it, so we'll see what he thinks of that. And painting a guitar. I've never painted a guitar before, so this is going to be an interesting experience for me. So stay tuned for that. And here I'm just playing around with outer flare, and I really like the way the flare on the eyes turned out, so I just have to try to remember how I did that and make sure that I do that again sometime. But yeah, he's a terrifying monster with just mouths everywhere. It's just so scary. Well, that's all from me. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, and stay calm, or yeah, whatever. Be calm and always be smashing. Peace.